The Cincinnati Bengals are facing the second toughest schedule in the NFL this season, which is why the bookies set their season wins totals to just 8.5. So the question here is, will they succeed or will they struggle? No, I definitely don't think the Bengals will be able to match their 10 wins from last season, but the 8.5, maybe that's a different story. Well, let's take a look at this schedule and see where they could drop the ball. All right, definitely week 3 could be their starting point with losses. Baltimore on the road. Sure, the Bengals won both games last season, but before last season, Baltimore won 4 straight over Cincinnati, and I can't help but think the Ravens will be very focused on that game. Then week 5 versus the Seahawks. Andy Dalton seems to really crumble under pressure against bigger opponents, plus Seattle is great on the road. Then for games before the bye week in week 7, maybe a loss there in week 4. It all depends on if Kansas City can get their offense figured out before the season starts. If Alex Smith can actually start getting the ball in his receivers' hands and making touchdown passes, this could be a good offensive game. All right, now after the bye, they face divisional rivals the Steelers. This will be a Bengals loss. Steelers swept the series last season, and unless Dalton can get over his big game jitters, I'm taking the Steelers to win this one pretty easy. All right, then week 11 versus Arizona could also be a loss. The Cards are a very well-coached team that is disciplined and plays no-nonsense football. The Bengals will be in a tough spot to take a win going against them in a short week after playing on Monday and then traveling all the way over to Arizona. Then another loss to Big Ben and the Steelers in week 14, since there will be even more pressure to win this game. Dalton will fall short, and at the risk of sounding extremely repetitive here, Dalton really just can't handle the pressure, and that's exactly what he's going to do when he's on primetime TV versus the 49ers in week 15. Plus, the Bengals will be on the road. Of course, we are talking about the Niners here, so this game really could swing either way, but if they don't lose in week 15 to San Francisco, they definitely will in week 16 when they head to Mile High for a Monday Night Football matchup with Peyton Manning. It'll be a revenge game for Manning, and yes, I sound like a broken record here, but Andy Dalton won't be able to take the pressure on that game. All right, so here's my conclusion with the Bengals this season. They have a tough schedule, and Andy Dalton is just too unpredictable. I mean, for example, last season he got smoked by the Browns, tied the Panthers, and beat the Raiders by just 1 point, and then they swept teams like the Broncos and the Ravens. I mean, really, it's just too much of a question mark here on Dalton's performance to make a bet on an over or an under for their season. But if I had to pick, they are facing a tough schedule this season, much harder schedule than they've seen in the past couple of years. I guess I'd go with the under total of 8.5.